Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Baron here, and yes, I'm flying the Ju-87 R2 Stuka dive bomber. Now, why am I flying this? A lot of people may think, oh, Baron, you know, all you're going to be is cannon fodder for the British or anyone that you're flying against. My landing gear is still jammed. Couldn't figure that out. Wink, wink, cough, cough. And I got a nice 1,000 kilo bomb under here. SC-1003, interesting. Got a pretty cool camo pattern, but why am I flying this plane? Because, I mean, I have one bomb under. I could have done better to fly the Heinkel 111s, which are available on this event, which is Malta. And basically, to sum it up quickly, P4T. That's what we gotta do now, guys. Prepare for tanks, right? Now, a lot of people kill tanks and ground units and stuff like that with medium bombers or things with a bigger bomb load. Like, I have one bomb available to me. And then I have to go back and reload. But right now we're under conditions that are soon to change. And we need to adapt if we are to perform better than our opponents and kind of get that competitive edge. So while most people are continuing to fly their BF-109s because they're the best plane to fly on this mission, and I cannot blame them, against all the British Spitfires, and look at all those barrage balloons, we basically, and there's always that one fighter, that goes and steals the Stuka's ground targets. That's another reason, hey Baron, why are you flying the Stuka when G50s, Machis, 200s, 202s are basically farming a lot of the ground kills? Even 109s on occasion will milk those ground targets, which are the few things we can actually rely on killing on paper here. But he is a G50, and with his little pitter-patter 12.7s, he seems to have not done so well against these artillery placements. Circling around, I should be able to grab one before he gets in there. I'll speed up a bit. Looks like we'll probably get it both. I should have changed my gun convergence. It's still on my fighter setting. Basically 300 meters. Probably go for something like 500 maybe? So you can kind of do that distance sniping. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of dogfighting. This is another thing why people probably don't fly the Stuka. Right here, I basically did my dive wrong. I'm now realizing after the fact. Because you don't build up speed very easily. You lose energy so fast, which makes you, like when you start maneuvering to try to dodge, basically Spitfires would be the case in this map. You're just dead. I mean, that's just the facts. You're gonna die. So here's that Mach 200. He's gonna be interested. A lot of the lower tier fighters usually. Ooh, someone kill him. I want that bow fighter out of here. There's an enemy Hurricane. Yeah, we need him dead. There's no air cover over here. Drats. So yeah, he seems to have found someone he's interested in killing. And look at that turn rate and that speed we have built up. Oh my gosh, I know you're impressed. My rear gunner is probably not very upgraded. BF-109F diving in here. My gunner's also doing work. I need some greater support, but we're going to be going for this pillbox. 2 light pillboxes. I have a 1,000 kilo. I should have just gone with the 250, but hindsight is 20/20. So I'm not at the best dive angle right here, but we're gonna do it anyway. We're likely to kill ourselves. See how that goes. Ooh, a little off, but it was 1,000, so we were able. Look at the speed I'm at. So yeah, people were like, "Hey, why are you doing that to yourself?" Well, I'm preparing for tanks, and we'll talk about which planes probably no one has really touched into, and if you have touched them, you haven't played them very often. Because we found systems in planes that work for the certain systems already. Because we have AI controlled tanks. They are predictable. They go down certain roads, they're in certain bunches. You know, so generally you can be like, oh, there's 4 in a row. If I miss, I have a decent chance of hitting another one. Right? So you don't fly something as awesome as this Ju-87 Stuka. Look at this speed, though. This thing is just slow. And you may ask yourself, if this is so bad, why are you flying it? Hello, motorcycle. And why were these things so prevalently used in the earlier parts of World War II by the Germans? That's because it is a dive bomber. These things could dive at very steep angles. They even had mechanisms in place so that it would automatically pull out. So in case your pilot blacked out, the plane would pull out of its dive and it would stay alive, and its pilot as well. So basically, why dive at such a steep angle? Because you're going after a player-controlled tank. These guys will not be predictable. They will do everything in their power, assuming they're aware of you, to evade your bombs. And with most bombs, you're going to need almost direct hits or within a very, very close proximity. So you can't rely on what we use now. We use medium bombers, right? Because they have a bigger bomb load. Why use a Stuka with 1 bomb when, okay, packet loss. Okay. That was rather scary. Alright, so we're going to have to land here, use our bullet brakes. Bullet brakes are effective. We probably won't need to do them much longer. So yeah, medium bombers are better choices right now. But dive bombing will be almost a necessity if you want to reliably hit a tank. Like, let's consider the tactics you have. One would be carpet bombing with medium bombers, heavy bombers, stuff like that. Heavy bombers and medium bombers will have to be at a higher altitude, because if you want to get down low, you're a bigger plane, you're a slower plane, you're not very maneuverable. The tanks just went from predictably used, or predictable directions, so that you can lead them and kill them with bombs. Now you are going to be led in your predictable flight pattern by these tanks, and they will likely kill you. Now I probably should have, I can even still do it now, I just don't know if I want to. Yeah, we're gonna do it. So we're gonna use our bullet brakes, we're gonna slam on the brakes, we're gonna dip out of this plane, switch to 250 and see if we can't start in the air. Baron, when's your next video? Today, actually. That was from the chat. Plane will be rearmed. Leave the plane. Let's see if this works. That would be unfortunate. And I'm going to go with a 250 to allow me to be a little more maneuverable. I'm going to have to be more spot on with my bomb. But being a dive bomber... Oh, I thought I selected airpoint. I think I did, but it just put me down here. But going with the smaller bomb will allow me to take off, be a little more maneuverable, especially since I'm starting at a lower altitude and not at the air point. So that's going to be a little bit of a predicament. Looks like the 109s are cleaning house. Yeah, so that's another good reason. We need to get a target before we're down. But yeah, basically preparing for tanks means we have to go with the planes that are going to be much better at killing tanks than what we're using now. And those, with the Germans... What in the balls? Wow, this thing... Huh. This thing can't take off, guys. Hey! Check out that guy. Wow. That runway was just long enough. I have no idea where the closest target is. I can't even really reliably turn at this speed without getting to an uncomfortable speed. Dang, man, Stuka. Why are you so tough? Alright, build up a little bit of speed in a dive, and then try to pull back and turn around and go after that pillbox. This is exciting. Yeah, so I'll go over the Stukas real quick. Oh man, this could be a terrible decision. Wepping the whole way. Imagine if I had tried to take off with that 1,000 kilo. I don't think it would be possible. Thinking about it now. Alright, so we are doing alright. Look at our landing craft. They look like the Japanese Daihatsu landing craft as opposed to the Higgins boats that the Americans have. The only real two landing craft models currently in the game. I'm not even familiar with what the Germans would have been. So, I'll show you after over the Stukas as we kind of fly back. But right now, this isn't like... It's fun. It's not the most fun I could be having. It's not even the most skill I could be having. And the game's over before I could even get a second target in there. Oh, God. But we'll talk momentarily. Look at that bomb. At least we got victory. I wasn't reading the chat, but it looked like someone was saying hi or something to that effect. Look at this. Dive bomber. Not too bad. And we open up. See, this is why we're doing it right here. We are slowly upgrading the plane. So we'll X out of that real quick. We'll check this out. See, here's the thing. This is my Stuka, Tier 3. I have a lot of bomb options from 250 kilos to 1,000 kilos. I think a 1,000 kilo bomb can even kill light cruisers. So you're packing a lot of punch at Tier 3. But your plane, for any other purposes you'd want it for, is not very good. But when it comes to tanks, they are not going to be predictable. They're going to be unpredictable. They're going to be doing things to evade you. Dive bombing will be far more reliable than medium bombing, carpet bombing. You're not going to be able to dive down and lead with medium bombers. You're probably going to get shot down. And you're going to have a hard time because you're not as maneuverable. So if that tank makes last-minute cuts and dodges and kind of weaves and stuff like that and zigzags, goes behind trees, goes behind hills, you're going to need the maneuverability of the dive bombers. Now, this Stuka didn't have a bombing reticle, and I really think it should. That's another thing that I think needs to be changed right now. But we'll talk about the Germans briefly. This B2, he's got, like this thing for Tier 3, you got 5 bombs, right? You got 1, 2, 50, and 450. So your 50s are going to have to land almost directly on target. And why you're able to kill these tanks is because they have some of the smallest amount of armament in terms of thickness on the top and bottom, but obviously for us as pilots, the top's really the only relevant one. But you can see that I'm running stock Stukas, right? Most people are going to wait till after tanks are already out and then be like, and if they're going to want to still fly and kill tanks, they're going to be like, oh, I got to grind all these planes that they wouldn't have ever touched because they weren't really that viable, right? In fact, I think the only ones that I have that are fully upgraded and I can still buy more are the G2s because they're a ton of fun with those 37. So yeah, let's compare the D5. He can carry 3 bombs, 3 big bombs, or 5 bombs. So he's got a lot of options. So he technically has 5 pieces of ammunition whereby he can kill tanks. The G1, however, has a 24 shots split between 2 guns. So you have 12 different chances to kill tanks. And with these 37s, these things are going to be able to crack most tanks. And dive bombing will give you the angle at which you can hit that top armor and basically, because you're going to need to come into a steep angle, because the shallower of an angle you make, the more, indirect sloping you give the enemy tank. And when tanks are converted to damage models and not kind of health bars, basically like what they have now, like ships and stuff like that, you're going to need steeper angles. You're going to need penetrating shots. And you're not going to be able to do that with your Heinkel 111. You're going to be able to do that, but then you're going to crash. More than likely, you will not be able to get pulled out of that dive to get as close as possible to hit a moving, unpredictable tank. So dive bombers will be huge. Another thing is this Heinkel 129B2, right? And when you look at it, it may not be that imposing. And here's the thing. This is P4T, prepare for tanks, right? All stock, everything. And the one thing I'm going to need to basically... This thing's going to be one of the best tank killers in the game. I can assure you that. That's my bet right now. And this is the 30 millimeter Mark 103 cannon with 100 rounds. You have 100 different chances to shoot at a tank, as opposed to dive bombers, which have 5. And you may ask yourself, or me, hey Baron, why am I going to fly this Mark 103 30 millimeter cannon? Because this thing's slow. It has no gunners at all. It is very well armored, so it's very good against ground attack fire. Right? Basically, you're going to be able to shrug off most lighter caliber rounds. You're only going to have to worry about main guns for the most part with this thing. But this thing's very well armored, and let's take a look at it. You can see the cockpit. Once they model cockpits, as a full reel player, this is going to be one of the most miserable cockpits you're going to encounter. Look how small it is. Here's your chair, so you have a very small view. Your front window, your side windows, and you got this one on the top. It's very angular, not very curvaceous, like, yes, curvaceous, like, most canopies are. And most planes have their aiming sight on the interior. Well, it is so cramped, they put the aiming sight on the front. Now, this thing is called the Duck, and you look at it, it's got that nice yellow beak, which makes it look even more. But right here, you're going to see that Mark 103 gondola, and I need to start grinding for that now. It's going to be kind of slow, and you're going to want this come tanks. You're going to want this in the first couple days of tanks, because this thing is going to destroy tanks. And going back to the cannon, you're like, hey, Baron, why not fly, let's see, the Focke-Wulf 1, I think one of these guys had the 30 millimeter cannons. Those are all 20s. Maybe it's the G10. Let's see. 30 millimeter Mark 108, right? Mark 108, oh, it sounds better, it's bigger. Compare the size of the rounds between the Mark 103 and the Mark 108. Not all 30 millimeter cannons, not all guns, not all cannons are created equal. Although they both say 30 millimeter, there is a significant difference, a marketable difference between the Mark 108 cannon and the Mark 103, which means this thing is going to be the destroyer, the Shiva of tanks with that Mark 103 cannon. And it has 100 rounds. Good lord. This thing is going to be a beast. Probably the best one. Now, yeah, so start preparing for tanks. Start grinding up the planes that you don't touch, rarely fly out. Oh, I actually have a lot on this guy. Get them all ready. This was just a quick survey. I could go into more detail. If you want to see a series on each nation and what I predict will be the best ground attack aircraft, let me know in the comments. Like up this video. You know, the more positive feedback I get, the more I realize, hey, you know what? You guys like this, and I need to do some more of it. I have a lot of fun doing it, so let me know what you think. This is a quick survey. We could get in a lot more detail, and there's a lot other planes that we could show off that would be pretty good ground attackers, and this was just Germany. There's 4 other nations. So I'm Baron, thanks for watching, and start preparing for tanks now so you can get that edge over everyone else and start getting tank killing ace games. Because yeah, killing 5 tanks isn't that hard now. It's going to be super hard, and getting 5 tank kills when they're player controlled will be a true challenge. I think killing tanks will be more challenging for most pilots right now once they're player controlled than killing 5 planes in a game. And that is pretty tough, but it's going to be a new challenge and we're not going to be ready for it. We're so used to predictable AI tanks, and it's just going to be so fun. And it's late October. Let's see. It is October 29th, and most people think and hope that tanks will be out by PlayStation launch, and in North America that is, I think, November 14th, 15th. So we've got like 2.5 to 3 weeks. So start preparing. P4T, prepare for tanks now. I'm Baron. Thanks for watching. Now we have the 100mm D10T, and this was the main cannon for the T-54, some variant, the SU-100, which used a variant of the D10T or the D10S, and then finally one of the IS-4 prototypes. And now finally, rounding this out, we have the 122mm D25T,